Hey, what's going on, everybody? Your boy JT here. So we got to get into it. We got the college football playoffs kicking off tonight. I know we late in the game, but we had to put something out there for y'all to check out. The Fiesta Bowl kicks off tonight with Ole Miss taking on the Miami Hurricanes. Tomorrow night we have the Peach Bowl with the Indiana Hoosiers taking on their conference foe, the Oregon Ducks. So we got to start with this Ole Miss Miami game. A lot of folks are picking Miami. If you look at a lot of the public money, if you look at the lines, everybody has Miami to win. And why wouldn't they? Miami went on the road. They knocked off Texas A&M in College Station. I didn't expect that. They held a prolific Texas A&M offense to 3 points. The game was a sluggish game. I thought it would be a high-scoring affair. I said on here that it would be a high-scoring affair. It was not. It was a defensive battle, one in which normally I would think the Texas A&M Aggies would win that type of defensive battle. But this Miami defensive line is serious. This Miami defense is serious. We're talking about a team, again, that went in the College Station, held Texas A&M to only 3 points, and held Ohio State to 14 points, less than 100 rushing yards. Dominant is the word we want to use for Miami. And then we have an Ole Miss team, what we would probably say is the best Ole Miss team in the history of the Running Rebels. So much controversy going around with Lane Kiffin, who was the head coach, left for LSU in the midst of this playoff run. There's a lot of talk around assistant coaches who also be leaving before this game tonight and going to LSU. But none of that matters. Ole Miss has Trinidad Chambers, who, from my point of view, is the best quarterback in the playoffs. Yes, I know we have Fernando Mendoza. I know he's the Heisman Trophy winner. I know him and Kirk Cignetti together did something that's never been done at Indiana. But you know what? I got to go with Trinidad Chambers being the best quarterback left in this playoff. I feel like he puts me in the mind of Donovan McNabb in terms of his ability to really scramble, get out of trouble, and still get the ball downfield. He's great, and the story about him is great. Coming up from Fair State, right now he's vying for one extra year eligibility, which would be a 6 year in college. Not unheard of what we're seeing right now in this NIL era. But let's get to the game. So we got Ole Miss taking on Miami. Yes, this Miami defense is dominant. They've been dominant, but they're not going to dominate against Ole Miss. They ain't doing it against Ole Miss tonight. Ole Miss's offense strings together big-time plays. We know that Keywan Lacey is going to be able to run the ball. They're not going to hold Ole Miss under 100 yards rushing. I think that both teams put up numbers. I think this is a game where we see both teams have, over 350 total yards. I think it's going to be a close game that comes down to the wire. But the Ole Miss Running Rebels have something to play for. I mean, again, with Lane Kiffin leaving, what we've seen in terms of just kind of the sneak dissing, some of the antics that we've seen play out, I think this team has a chip on their shoulder. They have something to prove. A lot of people thought they couldn't do it without Lane Kiffin. And I think this team has a good chance to win it all, right? I think they have a good chance to win it all. So I'm taking the underdog tonight. I got to take Ole Miss knocking off Miami. Even though they're the higher seed, Miami is the favorite. I got Ole Miss knocking off Miami. I got over 44.5 points. And we going with the Ole Miss Rebels to win tonight. Man, this is going to be an exciting game. I'm looking forward to it. In just a couple hours, we kick off. Let's bounce to the Peach Bowl. So tomorrow we got Indiana taking on Oregon. Now, this Indiana football team has already beat Oregon this season, 30-20 earlier in the season in a Big Ten matchup that ultimately had playoff implications. Luckily, Oregon finished out the season strong. They got a lot of great players over there with Dante Moore. They got an experienced coach in Dan Lanning. I would probably pick Oregon if Evan Stewart was healthy. Now, Evan Stewart, I think tore his patella tendon, maybe, tore some ligaments in his knee as well in the offseason. He hasn't played all season. He's back in practice. Not sure if he's shooting up tomorrow, but I think he's getting close. If he was healthy, I think this offense would be even more prolific. That would be yet another weapon that they have that can open things up. But Indiana is a team of destiny. You got Mark Cuban, who threw all of this money into the program because he's an alumnus of Indiana. As soon as they signed Kirk Cignetti, he just threw some more money at them as they've got Josh Hoover coming over from TCU next year to be their quarterback and take the helm. You got great receivers in terms of Surratt, who came from James Madison with Kurt Signetti. This is an all-around football team. You saw the belt that was applied to Alabama. There was belt laid to Alabama in the Rose Bowl. So some people didn't expect that. I expected belt would be applied. I think I picked Indiana. I know I picked Indiana. I don't know what I said the score was going to be, but it doesn't matter. I had Indiana winning, and I was right about that. I think that this Indiana-Oregon game is going to be competitive. It's going to be a game in which we need to see what the Oregon defense can do lining up against this Indiana offense. Can they slow them down? I don't think they do. I think the game is pretty much going to mirror what we saw early in the season, probably around a 10-point win for Indiana. I think they covered the spread, and I think they beat the Oregon Ducks. It's hard to beat a team twice, but if any team is going to do it, I got Indiana beating the Oregon Ducks twice and heading to the national championship, which sets up an exciting matchup in the national championship between the Ole Miss Running Rebels and the Indiana Hoosiers. That sounds like a basketball matchup or baseball when we think about the College World Series. It does not sound like a national championship when we think about the dominance that the SEC has had, namely Georgia and Alabama for the past couple seasons. But listen, Ole Miss, Indiana, my picks for the national championship. But listen, maybe you're a Hurricanes fan. Maybe you're a Ducks fan. I know I got a lot of friends that are Ducks fans. We need to hear from y'all. Do you think you guys are going to pull off the win for either team? As always, Dub and I need that CLS treatment. Give us that. Comment, like, subscribe. We'll be back with more from In the Arena.